Hello, I'm Michael Topham, technical writer for Digital Photo, and welcome to this month's Part 1 Masterclass video lesson, which is going to study Photoshop's invaluable brush tool. We'll start off by taking a good look at how we can control the brush tool in the options bar, as well as exploring some of the fantastic brush presets that can be found beneath the brush preset picker. A little later on, we'll also touch on how we can create a custom-made brush from one of our very own raw files, which is a fantastic technique to learn and lets you get even more creative with the brush tool. Everything we learn in this first masterclass video will put us in a good position for the second brush tool masterclass video, which you'll also find on this CD. In the second video, we'll go one step further and use a majority of the brush tool controls and options to create a stunning steam effect in the start image steam engine.jpg. Custom-made brushes will also need to be created in the second video, so it's going to be good to learn the process in this video first before we reapply the same technique. If you've never explored or used the brush tool before, it's an extremely powerful painting tool that's excellent for both painting pixels and editing pixels when we use it in combination with layer masks. It's found beneath the healing brush tool in the toolbox, and we can select it very quickly by hitting its keyboard shortcut, which is the letter B. We can see that a majority of the controls that we need are found up in the options bar. Clicking on the small downwards arrow next to the brush loads up the brush preset picker, and from here we can control the master diameter of the brush we decide to use, and we can also control the hardness of the brush. It can get rather time consuming having to load up the brush preset picker every time we fancy changing the size or hardness of the brush, and to make things a lot easier and quicker, it's vital that we learn the shortcuts for both of these sliders. I'm just going to select a brush at random from the brush preset picker and then head back to my empty document. If I just brush, we can see that the brush is very small indeed, and to increase the size of the brush very quickly we can just hit the right square bracket key, and you'll be able to see in the options bar there how the brush value is increasing. You can also see that the brush size is also increasing on the document. The maximum brush size is 2500 pixels. When we fancy decreasing the size of our brush, we use the left square bracket key, and a few taps on that and you can instantly see that I'm decreasing the size of my brush. To alter the hardness of our brush, we very simply use the same square bracket keys that we use to increase and decrease the size of the brush, but this time we hold down Shift at the same time. Holding down Shift and hitting the right square bracket key increases the hardness of our brush, and if I paint with it at the moment, you can see that our brush has a very hard edge to it. If we want to soften the edge of our brush, hold down Shift and hit the left square bracket key, and you'll be able to see there in the options bar that the brush has now got a soft edge to it, and if we paint with it, you'll be able to see the difference there. It's got a much softer edge to it. Whenever you're altering or you're changing your brush diameter or your brush hardness, it's a really good idea just to glance up at the brush in the options bar, and this will give you a good idea of how your keyboard shortcuts are affecting the brush before you actually use it on your images or you use the brush tool to paint in new pixels. Heading back into the brush preset picker, you'll find that you're given a lot of options from the brush preset picker menu. Near the top, you're given 6 options to change the layout if you prefer, and we quite like to view our brushes using the large thumbnail. So I'm just going to change our view to large thumbnail, and you'll be able to see there that we can now scroll down through our brushes and we can see them very clearly at a slightly larger size. Also inside the brush preset picker menu, you're given options to reset your brushes, load any brushes, you're given the option to save brushes, and you can also replace brushes. Down towards the bottom are a range of extra brushes that you can add into your main brushes list. If I wanted to add, say, some square brushes that we can see just down towards the bottom here to my list on the left hand side, Clicking them loads up this message. Replace current brushes with the brushes from squarebrushes.abr. Now I want to actually add these brushes into my main list, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move across and click on Append. Moving down through my brushes, you'll be able to see that those square brushes that I just clicked on have now been added to my main brushes list, and they're there right down towards the bottom, ready for me to use. If you think that there are any other brushes that you want to use from the list, just give them a click like I did with the square brushes and just add them to your brushes list. The other brush tool controls in the options bar include painting mode, opacity and flow. Painting mode lets us change the way any painted pixels react with the pixels in our images, and there's a long list of different painting modes to choose from. The opacity is excellent to use when we're looking to reduce the intensity of the brush effect. To quickly change your opacity value, use your numerical keypad. Tapping 50 on the keyboard quickly will set the opacity to 50%. Tapping 2 and then 0 sets it to 20%. And then if we want to set it to 7%, for example, I'll just tap 07, and there we go. Our opacity has been changed to 7% in a fraction of a second. The flow slider can be found alongside the opacity slider, and this is used to determine how much paint or how many pixels we want to apply with the brush tool. This can be set anywhere between 1% and 100%. If you fancy painting with an airbrush effect, the airbrush icon can also be selected from the options bar. As you hold down with the mouse, you'll notice how the paint gradually builds up, and it's useful now and again, but we're going to keep ours turned off for the meantime. We recommend that you load up a simple A4 document like the one on our screen to test out all of these controls in the options bar, just like I've done, and have a play around with the different brushes on offer inside the brush preset picker. So now that we've looked at all the brush tool controls, I'm going to show you how we can create a custom-made brush from one of our photographs. On the CD, in the Start Images folder, you'll find a raw file called smokepattern.dng, and once you've found it, just load it up into Photoshop. To define this smoke pattern image as a brush, we first need to invert it so that the smoke appears as black and the background appears as pure white. To do this, we go up to Image in the menu bar, down to Adjustments, across, and down to Invert. To check that the background is pure white, make a Levels Adjustment layer by going to Layer in the menu bar, down to New Adjustment Layer, and onto Levels. Use the Set White Point eyedropper, which can be found just beneath the options, and click this just next to the image, just to ensure that the background is pure white. Once you've done that, you can just hit OK. Whenever we're defining a brush, it's very important that we flatten the image first by going up to Layer and down to Flatten Image. Selecting the smoke pattern again with the rectangular marquee tool, and then going up to Edit in the menu bar and down to Define Brush Preset still shows that it's showing in grey. And the reason for this is that the maximum image size for the brush preset to work is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. So our image is too large at the moment. To downsize the image, go up to Image and then down to Image Size, and just type in a width of 2500 pixels, hit OK, and you'll now be able to make another selection. Let's just increase the size slightly. Be able to make another selection of the smoke pattern using the rectangular marquee tool. Go up to Edit in the menu bar, and this time you'll be able to see, because we've downsized the image, that the Define Brush preset is allowing us to turn this smoke pattern into a brush. Rename the brush Smoke Pattern, and then hit OK, and that's all there is to it. We've created a brush which you'll now be able to find at the bottom of your brush preset picker, and you can use it at your own leisure with the brush tool in any of your photographs. We can now close down the image, and there's no need to save it as you've already saved the brush, and this will remain in your list of brushes forever, unless of course you decide to delete it. To save you a little time and effort, we've added an assortment of 43 brushes on the CD for you to use with the brush tool. Loading these into your version of Photoshop couldn't be easier. Select the brush tool from the toolbox and then head into the brush preset picker and click on the brush preset picker menu. Moving down, click on load brushes from the list, find your DP/CD on your computer, and inside the Start Images folder you'll find a file named dp3brushes.abr. Select the file, then move down to the bottom and click on Load to load these 3 brushes into your brush preset picker. Scrolling down through my brush presets, I can now see that I've got a fantastic assortment of new brushes that I've loaded from the DP/CD. That's all for now in this first brush tool video. We've taken a good look at the brush tool controls and options ready for using it in the next video. In the second brush tool masterclass video, we're going to be using the brush tool a lot more and create some special steam brushes for adding steam around a locomotive. Make sure that you don't miss it and load it up straight away. I'll see you very shortly in the next video.